Hi, everybody. Before I get started, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the unceded lands from which we're all joining today. I'm on the lands of the Bidjigal people. I'd like to pay my respects to the elders past and present and extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who might be joining us today. I want you to consider two people who are essentially the same. They are both 76 years old, both live in the community, both have a supportive spouse and access to the same funding systems. They both live active lives and have had successful careers. The difference is that one of these people has recently had a stroke and the other person has a diagnosis of dementia. That means that the person who's had a stroke is more likely to be referred for allied health and offered cognitive rehabilitation. For the person who has dementia, their reason for being in contact with community aged care is probably more related to something else, such as having had a fall. And while they're receiving support to regain functioning after their fall, their dementia may not even be acknowledged, meaning they're missing out on important opportunities for holistic reablement support that could maximise their everyday functioning and quality of life. While this scenario may seem unfair, it's an example that has been identified through our research and is unfortunately a reality for many people living with dementia. But both of these people have a right to be offered reablement, to support them in maximising their functional abilities and to do the things that they want to do. This is a human rights issue. We know that reablement and rehabilitation would benefit people living with cognitive impairment or dementia, and people living with dementia have indicated that they want access to these services. According to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with a Disability, people with a disability, which includes people living with cognitive impairment and dementia, should have early access to comprehensive reablement or rehabilitation programs to maximise independence. Yet dementia reablement is still not broadly available, and there's currently no consensus in Australia around how evidence-informed reablement should be implemented for people with dementia living in the community. Australia is a signatory on this Human Rights Convention, and the Australian National Dementia Action Plan promotes that people with cognitive impairment and dementia should have access to reablement. And the research is there, showing how holistic reablement, sometimes called rehabilitation, should be offered to people living with cognitive impairment or dementia to maximise a person's functional abilities and support them to do the things that they want to do. For people interested in reading up on these intervention approaches in detail, I'd recommend accessing these freely available resources. The 2025 World Alzheimer's Report, which had a really specific focus on dementia rehabilitation, and the World Health Organization Package for Interventions for Rehabilitation, which has a chapter dedicated to dementia. Ultimately, every person has abilities, and every person should be supported in using their abilities to engage in the world around them and do the things that they want to. It's no different for people living with dementia. A reablement program involves allied health practitioners to ensure appropriate assessment of abilities, goal setting and program planning. But program supporters such as family carers, care support workers or allied health assistants are also vitally important to contribute to a successful program. In fact, in a recent study where we spoke with allied health practitioners, they highlighted the benefits of working with allied health assistants and care support workers who had a really good understanding around the importance of reablement, who are supportive of the client's goals, and instead of just doing everything for clients, are able to support clients to use their abilities where possible, providing support only when needed. If you're interested in learning more around the practicalities of reablement in practice, there's an Introduction to Dementia Rehabilitation e-course freely available via Dementia Training Australia. And there are also freely available resources for download to support the design, delivery and evaluation of reablement programs, which can be accessed via the link below. The KeepAble site also has heaps of resources, including this brief article which includes some practical tips for taking a reablement approach when working with clients living with cognitive impairment or dementia.